You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, or by asking Alexa or Google Home, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane. Time to take a detour in the fast lane.
Because I was listening. Again, I listen live, so there is no confession necessary here today in the fast lane. And I don't have to ask for forgiveness from our very own producer today, who happens to be the host of the morning warm-up.
I was going to ask you, did you miss me? I haven't been on in a couple weeks.
It's been a while, but I feel like I still get the essence of you by listening at junctures of 7 to 8 a.m. when I'm taking either the exchange students or the kids to school, or listening back at the morning warm-up where I listen to podcasts.
Or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can just go after you finish watching our show. You can watch it on YouTube, my show on YouTube.
Yeah,
too.
I think Ty was subjected to the, I don't know if I'll call it rant, but the head-scratching moment a couple of weeks ago where I'm trying to figure out, it's clearly a y'all's age thing, like you're under 30.
Yes.
Because you guys watch podcasts on YouTube. And someone explained this to me.
I'm 27 for a couple more hours, but we don't have to talk about that.
Yes. Well, a happy early birthday to you, because there is no Fast Lane Thursday or Friday because of a blend of the PGA Championship, Virginia Tech baseball, and in some form or fashion, Stanley Cup playoff.
Mainly, well, this will be the final 30 minutes of the golf broadcast before we hear the glorious Evan Hughes and call the Virginia Tech Virginia series.
Yes, well, that is the exciting part. But anyway, so, we love starting off with detours in the fast lane. And I'm listening to you and Ty, and very well executed, rant on Pete Rose finally being inducted back into the Baseball Hall of Fame and how
well he's eligible to get in. I do not trust baseball writers.
All right, fair enough. Thank you for correcting me, as Kurt would remind us, and I have to confess.
Well, I should have known.
Because I should have known. Kurt from Good Burger, by the way.
It's okay.
R.I.P.
I'm here to help you out.
So, I make fun of the guardians of game in basketball, like the people that think basketball has to be played with a certain style and way. And the guardians of the game in baseball as well.
Way worse than basketball. Way worse than basketball.
So stylistically, it's the people that complain about, like, in basketball, they should outlaw the hack-a-shack fouling bad free throw shooters. I'm personal accountability. I'm team personal accountability here. So no, don't outlaw bad free throw shooters. Get better or continue to get fouled until you're not a liability. Like, that's sports. It's life. If you're a liability in business, your competition will exploit it. Welcome to the real world. In baseball, the shift should be banned. Oh, I don't know. Or maybe just slap, hit, and bunt through the entire wide open side every single time, because they're going to just give that to you. And if you're really fast, you might even be able to stretch into a double because there's no one there. Like, I know team personal accountability here, really having an issue with the modern softness. Everything needs to be perfect. Snowflake, snowplow syndrome that's going on in the world today.
So wait, but you're at least pro. I think, like, I understand the baseball changes compared to the hack-a-shack because they're just trying to make the game, like, quicker. They're just they're trying to make it more, like, watchable so they can save the sport. Like, more the pitch clock thing. Like, that's what we're sitting at. I don't know if you're pro pitch clock or not.
So first of all, I am pro pitch clock, especially in the regular season. Just get the game sped up. Like, we don't need 3.5 hour games when we're talking about baseball. I don't know, like right now in the middle of May. Like, let's get this thing going here. We got 162 of these things. If you lose one because the pitch clock screwed you over, you've only got 161 other games to make. I think
there's only been one walk-off with a pitch clock since it's been intact.
Again, team personal accountability. Adapt or die. Welcome to the real world. And by the way, I am very pro hack-a-shack or fouling bad free throw shooters.
Fouling up three.
Yeah.
Fouling up three.
It's part of the game. Like, I'm fine with it. But the worst element of the guardians of the game, to get back to this detour that we're already on to start the fast lane, by far the worst is the Baseball Hall of Fame people. Like, and it's not just like your Pete Rose argument today. Here's the part that gets me. Why in the world? You had the Foul Ball Area podcast. You're the baseball guy, so you can answer this perhaps. Why is it that there's an element of people in baseball that for years were bothered that Pete Rose was banned from the Hall of Fame in baseball and banned from baseball in any capacity when he bet on the game, including his own team? Now, he says he only bet in favor of his own team, but still, he bet in games with his own team as the manager of the game. That is literally compromising or potentially compromising the integrity of the game. They want that guy in the Hall of Fame, but they won't allow the people that used PEDs like Roger Clemens, the pitcher, Mike Piazza, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire. We could go on and on. Those people were merely looking for an advantage to be the best versions of themselves as players. Okay, maybe it was a little bit cheating against the rules, but they weren't trying to compromise their team. They were actually trying to help their team by being the best version. And the crotchety old or the snowflake sissies out there that are really upset by this, and clearly I am, they get mad that we can't allow Pete Rose, who could have compromised the integrity of the game by potentially betting against his team. He claims he didn't, but take him for what it's worth, considering his track record. We can let that guy in, and it's such a shame. He should be allowed in. But we're not going to allow people in that took PEDs because it compromised the integrity of the game. For what? They're trying to be better performers and players.
It was the most popular. It was the most popular boom of baseball.
Well, it's not just that, but it's literally the principle of it. You're going to get mad and you're going to allow someone in who might have screwed his own team on multiple occasions for selfish interests. But
I don't believe that part.
Happened, but whatever, if it did.
I said this morning he bet on his own team.
But you're at least opening the door to that guy going in, but not to the people that took PEDs to try to help themselves be better and help their teams achieve more as a player. That's bad, but this is good.
But Ed, it's not. The crazy part is there are players that are in the Hall of Fame right now that are connected to PEDs, that have connections to PEDs. But because they were likable, which I don't like, I'm not here to disagree with. I'm not here to I'm just saying, because certain players, I think A-Rod and Barry Bonds are like the top two, and Roger Clemens might be the third, or maybe more of a not so nice person to the media, then they're not going to get in the Hall of Fame. Where what Hall of Fame doesn't have two of its best players ever? And there's not another one. The only other sport is basketball, because the second best player, the first or second best player, depending on how you feel, is still playing in the sport right now, and that's basketball. And maybe the same thing in hockey with how you feel about Sidney Crosby. So, that's it. It's just dumb. It's so dumb.
It's more the principle of the matter that drives me nuts and how absurd it is. Guy that might have screwed his own team, let him in. Guy that might have tried to help his team, ban him multiple times.
The mission of the Baseball Hall of Fame, and it is explicit, is to tell the history of the game of baseball.
Then have a PED wing and just let them all in and have a giant asterisk emblazoned on the floor.
If you can go to me and tell me the history of baseball without Barry Bonds, then credit to you, because Barry Bonds is maybe the greatest baseball player we've ever seen. And if you want to say, throw out, here's the difference between McGwire and Sosa and him. If you say, all right, let's throw out his quote unquote PED seasons, which is basically the back half of his Giants career. You just take his time with the Pirates and his start with the Giants. It's still a Hall of Fame career. That's absurd. Also, the crazier part about PEDs, you still got to make contact with the baseball. This is another argument I thought about PEDs. Ed, I feel like you would agree with me. You and I could take as many PEDs as we wanted. Ever. I am not hitting 73 home runs in a season.
Nope.
Right?
I still got to hit the ball.
Right? You still got to make contact with the baseball.
I still have bad hand-eye coordination.
The PEDs will help you with power, but making the contact part of it, it's just dumb. I could talk about this for hours, but this is, that's why I had to stop myself this morning.
So we took a detour here in the fast lane, but if you've been around people that don't know how to take a detour and can't drive very well, and they've caused an auto accident, then you might be in a situation where you need quality representation. Can I get the words out of my mouth? That's where Trost Law will come in and help. Serving our community for over 4 decades, since 1982, 777-HURT and TrostLaw.com. A reminder to please be safe this summer. It may take a couple extra minutes to get somewhere, but that's better than the alternative of being involved in an accident or much worse. So remember, be safe on the roads. That from TrostLaw.com and 777-HURT. Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. He had something to say, and he was on his podcast earlier this week. I want to just, first of all, I've criticized, and it's been the subject of many middle fingers that it may have come. I'm not going to actually do the full middle finger gesture. I'm going to put a couple of them up together, but I've had a couple of them multiple times when criticizing Dale Jr. Dale Jr., the NASCAR driver, was never what people wanted him to be or thought he would be or what they thought he might have been. He was not Dale Earnhardt Sr. in terms of driving desire, talent, skill set, and frankly, unabashed willingness to win at all costs. But Dale Earnhardt Jr., the media personality and broadcaster,
he's still NASCAR Jesus.
He has done infinitely more than ever expected to grow the sport. This week is a great example of that. First of all, the All-Star race, 3rd year in a row at North Wilkesboro. It's literally there because Dale Jr. started it by scanning the track for iRaces, saw potential in it, and helped spearhead the efforts to bring racing back to North Wilkesboro. He constantly advocated for it and deserves so much praise for getting NASCAR back to a track that it never should have left for my place, of course, Texas, although New Hampshire got one of the dates too. But Dale Jr. also deserves credit in this sense. He's largely spoken and said stuff. Never was that more apparent than on his podcast. He has finally said it. And look, we have said this in the fast lane, but here's a shocker, Trey. Whether it's you and your crew on the Front Stretch Happy Hour podcast, again, getting my usher on. I have not yet listened to the episode that I have downloaded. Haven't had time today. It's been crazy, but I'll get to that. But
I quit.
Whether they say it or whether we say it in the fast lane, when Dale Jr. says something, here's a shocker, it resonates more. And what he said about drivers and the fact that what drivers wanted essentially needs to be taken with a grain of salt carries a lot of weight. I am so grateful he said this. First of all, what's good in terms of performance for a driver is not what's good in terms of performance for the entertainment product.
When I was driving a race car, when I was a race car driver, I was selfish. It was about me. It was about what was good for me. And that's not always what's good for the sport. That's not always what's good for entertainment. That's not always what's good for the fan that bought the ticket.
Dale Jr. on his Dale Jr. Download podcast, spot on. Like, he was selfish. He admitted it. And he elaborated that sometimes he actually wanted the boredom that fans don't want.
When I was on the racetrack, I wanted everybody to not run over my ass and stay off me and not up around me, you know, but that's kind of boring.
Yeah, boring. Boring is good as a race car driver. It's bad as a fan, but it's predictable. When you're driving or competing in any endeavor, of course you're fine with that, especially the higher up you are in terms of success, the higher up you are in terms of your craft. For Dale Earnhardt Jr., boredom was good. Any driver, boredom is good. Jimmy Johnson winning a bunch of races. Like, I know there's a sector of the media where it's like, appreciate greatness. We should always love dynasties. Sometimes it gets kind of boring. Similarly, personalities, cookie cutter. Everyone makes you feel good, and everybody sings Kumbaya and goes get ice cream sandwiches after the event, to quote our friend Michael Lombardi, former media personality and now current UNC football general manager. Like, you got to evolve around that. This is still entertainment. Like, people bag on the 4-letter network, and there are times where we do too, but ESPN, the first of those 4 is the E, which stands for, wait for it, entertainment. That's what you need. And to Dale Jr.'s credit, he said it. Being a driver, he wanted boredom. What's good for a driver's mentality is not necessarily good for the entertainment of the fans. Thank you, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Thank you for saying what we've thought as a fan for a long time and providing that level of clarity, because a lot of drivers, it's like they're afraid of saying that now. But I think Dale Earnhardt Jr. was very candid as well in his comments, because he thought that way and almost held back the idea about why he wanted it to be boring. As a race car driver for a competitive advantage, totally understandable. No issues with that. But once he got into the media on the other side, all of a sudden, you know, the media that you love to hate when you're a competitor, actually, it gives you a different level of perspective.
That was one of the things that I learned when I got out of the driver's seat and stepped into the booth. I said, holy shit, it is important that this is fun to watch. Like, this has got to be good to watch. And so having a wild card or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 out there that you're not quite sure what kind of decision they're going to make down in the next corner is kind of good. You know, having that guy that's like, hey, man, he's a loose cannon. It's kind of good when you're, trying to be, entertained.
Look at his. I mean, Dale Earnhardt Jr. said it on the Dale Jr. Download podcast, but let's be real here. This is what you kind of want as fans, especially now. And I think this is the most important thing to remember if you're NASCAR and looking at it. The quality of racing has not been great this year. And I'm not putting Kansas in that grouping. I know people, kind of got bored because Kyle Larson ran away, but if Chase Elliott and Chris Buescher don't wreck, there's a good chance he's got a legitimate challenger during that race. But his top challengers, and I'll put William Byron in this because the Liberty University driver had some issues as well, but there's a chance that somebody else might have challenged him. Sometimes that's just going to happen. I'm fine with that. But the short track races have stunk. Look at Bristol, Martinsville, and what we've seen on those. Darlington, which is supposed to be great, was a disappointment. Talladega underwhelmed also. Daytona was great at the very end, but not great throughout. Like, this is what you're kind of getting. So you need personalities to spark things up. And that's one of the things Dale Earnhardt Jr. brought up. And again, it goes to what we've said, which is, I think especially when the racing product is kind of hitting a low point and you've got to find ways to work around it before you make changes to the car, which, by the way, drivers are going to complain about often because it's at a competitive disadvantage. They don't have a grasp on it. When they don't have a grasp on it, it may be bad for them, but it's good for us. But having those different personalities can at least help get you to that point.
You got to have a lot. We talk about personalities, and I know that personality conversations kind of driven a lot more toward like what they're doing off the track, but you also need those personalities on the track. You got to have the good guy, the villain, the up. You got to have the guy that just can't get it right. You got to have the guy that's stupid fast but terrible decision maker. You need to have all these different people with all these different variables and throw them all in the bucket.
Yeah, and let them race.
Yeah.
I
put
agree.
them in the cage and see what happens.
It's what makes it fun. Like, this is what you get, which is really cool. When you've got different personalities, when you have a different idea, a different attitude, all of that, you combine it together, and the product is infinitely better and infinitely more exciting to consume and watch. We'll get to Vic Morin, NHL Wraparound Podcast, in a moment. What happens tonight? Did the Caps get finished off, or do they find a way to scrape by and maybe make this series more interesting than it's been in the early going? But there are other topics, ACC, actionable information that we get to discuss in the Fast Five at 5-ish momentarily. But again, thanks to Dale Earnhardt Jr. for what he had to say, and thank you to Lynchburg Ready Mix Concrete Corporation and Easy Mobility Solutions. They are tag teaming to help you know that the Memorial Day 10K run and 2-mile walk will benefit type 1 diabetes experience. And we'll have more on that at 5:45 with the director of the event, Carol Friend, who's going to join us here in studio. But they want you to know that it's important to support the community. People with type 1 and type 2 diabetes, they need the support, but so do their families and their resources that are available with the type 1 diabetes experience. Even if you're not directly impacted by it right now, you might be in the future. You might be around people. And Tide.org, T1DE.org is where you can go to get more information. That furnished by Lynchburg Ready Mix and Easy Mobility Solutions. Now to the ACC topics we meant to discuss in the Fast Five at 5-ish.
It's time for Fast Five at 5-ish. 5-ish minutes on 5 relevant topics done around 5 p.m.-ish. Ish, because our counting skills are kind of ish. Let's start with number 5.
So Trey touched on this in the morning warm-up a couple of days ago, and it's a little bit of older news, but the ACC shifted from 20 to 18 non-conference men's basketball games. The goal is to empower teams to swap out a couple of conference games for non-league contests that could mean more. Is this not another sign that the ACC is kind of realizing that it's almost like they need 2 separate divisions in the ACC? The haves and the have-nots. The bigger brands that draw more eyeballs. There's some differences in football and basketball. Duke basketball, yes. Duke football, not so much. As Bill Lumberg, by the way, from Office Space would remind us.
Ooh, yeah. I'm going to have to go ahead and sort of disagree with you there.
Yes, I disagree. Duke football, not big. Duke basketball, yes. There's some variances. Florida State's on the opposite end. Florida State hoops, not a big brand. Florida State football, most definitely they are. Same with Clemson. You can put Miami in that category as well. But the ACC's decision speaks to that. I think bigger picture, though, we're starting to see that they may have all these teams in the conference, but when you combine that with revenue shifting and everything else, you're getting essentially the same conference, but clearly a separate set of tiers that would be defined as the haves and the have-nots.
Number 4.
The Big 12, a couple of days ago, agreed to a 3-year contract extension with their commissioner, Brett Yormark, whose deal now runs through 2030, which coincides with that timeline of when all these television deals will also be up. I think by and large, to get his young Jeezy on, Brett Yormark has done that. They were not ever going to be in a position where they could be SEC Big Ten caliber, but from a perception standpoint, they don't have the big brands the ACC has with schools like Clemson, Florida State, Miami, Carolina, NC State, Virginia Tech, Louisville, but they also don't have the bottom feeders like a Boston College and some of those type of programs where you just go, what are they realistically doing here? What value do they provide? And he's done a great job of creating the perception around that conference, has Brett Yormark. It's why that extension is very well earned. On with the rest of the ACC.
Number 3.
Very interesting comment from Brett McMurphy of the Action Network, formerly of Stadium. Miami's Mario Cristobal said he spoke to, quote, 1 million people, end quote, about number 1 draft pick Cam Ward, except one. And Cristobal, to his credit, came out and said, quote, I can't recall many NFL teams or TV people I didn't speak to, end quote. However, they did not speak with, here's a shocker, Mel Kiper Jr. saying, quote, never heard from him, end quote. I don't think we ever talked to him, elaborating on the Mario Cristobal comment. Part of this is the question is Mel Kiper Jr.
Mel Kiper replied to that, by the way.
What did he say?
He said Mario Cristobal claims he spoke to 1 million people about Cam Ward, yet the one he didn't speak to, being me, had Ward ranked higher, 6th on my big board, than any other draft expert. Interesting, isn't it? And oh, by the way, I didn't speak to Dion about Shedeur either. I need another orange crutch after this nonsense.
Well, hey, look, to his ever-loving credit, I think it's very good to say for Mel Kiper to come out and admit he didn't speak to Shedeur or to Cam Ward. I will give Mel Kiper at least this amount of credit. First of all, when you've got the ability to speak to those people, I think you have to do that. Now, I do think for what Mel Kiper has done for the NFL draft, and he's done great to get it on the map, I'll back off and say this much. Look, a couple of years ago when Daniel Jeremiah took over, heck, one of Kiper's colleagues, Louis Riddick at ESPN, to be fair. I trust those people because they've been involved in personnel departments, and I trust them to be able to get the right information and the right resources. It's nothing against Kiper and McShay. It's other people have found a way to add to that what those two just couldn't because they are not directly involved with the draft process the way that a Daniel Jeremiah or a Louis Riddick or, again, shout out to our guy, Michael Lombardi, but those type of people would have been because they've actually been involved in that.
And McShay worked for a group that actually worked with NFL teams, like Scouts Inc. works with NFL teams.
Yeah.
That's where McShay came from.
Well, and look, to his ever-loving credit, I think that's important to remember. But I'll give Kiper this. He's been consistent. I would like to have had him speak to all these people because he has access to it. But if you're not going to speak with one, at least don't speak with the other. And Kiper deserves praise in that regard.
Number 2.
Speaking of Michael Lombardi, his colleague and boss, Bill Belichick at the University of North Carolina, when ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips was asked about it, he said, quote, ESPN ran to us before we could even run to them about televising more UNC games. It's a great thing for the ACC, a great thing for North Carolina, and we are all following the massive coverage that Coach Belichick draws, end quote. Look, for all the criticism of Jim Phillips, that's the route he should be taking. The ACC needs to lean into these type of storylines and brands. For the longest time, they've tried to suppress it. Lean into those personalities. Personally, I don't care what Bill Belichick's personal life is like. I don't think it's going to have the impact on Carolina football from an on-field product the way that other people do. If Belichick can juggle the Flakegate and Spygate and all the other off-the-field distractions in a bigger, more pressure-filled media market like Boston, he'll handle it fine at North Carolina. But the idea of that being a story is good business for the ACC, and they should be leaning into this type of stuff. Speaking of good business,
wait, Ed, I have a question about you because I've mentioned this twice now on my show. Is Jordan Hudson banned from the Virginia Tech Radio Network studios during your show?
No,
because she's not banned during mine.
She is allowed whenever she wants. She can just get at us. She probably knows how. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Or she can just go to Fastlane, Ed Lane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
I know she lost Miss Maine, but she could be Miss VTR in sports.
She would be Miss VTR in sports, 100%. She comes in here once, she gets that nod.
Number 1.
Jim Phillips also said at the close of league meetings for the ACC today, Notre Dame 7 games against Clemson on the schedule over the next 12 years are independent and do not count towards Notre Dame's contracted 5 per season ACC games. This does not mean Notre Dame is going to get closer to joining the ACC. I think we've established that. But I'll say this. From Notre Dame's standpoint, and Clemson and Miami and Florida State are the big three that are being parts of that juggle. It's probably because it's harder for Notre Dame to add a lot more non-conference games than it used to be. Sure, they want to keep Navy on. They'll always find a way for that. They'd love to keep USC as well. Michigan when they can, some of the other big brands to whom they have ties. But for Notre Dame, you add Clemson. Part of it's also the fact that, let's be real here, some of those games against ACC teams are basically the equivalent of playing like G5 caliber opponents in terms of the difficulty with how well Notre Dame is operating. And at least to Jim Phillips' credit, he's put a stake in the ground to defend the honor and position of the ACC. But it does not mean Notre Dame is any closer to joining the conference. Meanwhile, we're closer to joining up with Vic Morin of the NHL Wraparound Podcast. And then 545, Carol Friend, the executive director of the Memorial Day 10K run and 2-mile walk for the type 1 diabetes experience. As we're loaded and back to talk some NHL, do the Canes finish off the Caps? What's happened to Washington? Does this go back beyond and before the playoffs? Vic Morin will help answer and unpack those questions next here in the Fast Lane.
Get more at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier used car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for over 50 years. With more selection, more value, and more finance options. Plus, your trade is worth more. Get the best selection with more Hondas, more Hyundais, all your favorite makes and models. Over 900 used vehicles in stock now. That's way more than any other dealer in the area. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got the volume all in one location on the Motor Mile. The Used Car Superstore is your one stop for cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and local one-owner vehicles. Plus, Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is easy on the Motor Mile with financing options for every budget. We finance your future, not your past. You're a valued customer and not just a number on the Motor Mile. Get more with straightforward pricing and more inventory arriving daily. Over 900 vehicles on the lot ready to choose from. The Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. I-81 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
Few things are more majestic than nature, as long as it's outside your house. Unfortunately, when wildlife gets inside your chimney, it leads to problems for your chimney and your house. Prevent this problem with Black Goose Chimney Service. They provide one-time solutions to ensure the wildlife stays outside your home. And if you've had wildlife inside your house, Black Goose Chimney Service can deal with the aftermath and make sure they don't return. Call Black Goose Chimney Service and visit them at blackgoose.net.
We're here with Colt from We Fix Stupid Computers. Colt, to go along with your residential or individual walk-in services that you offer, you also do a lot of business IT support. How about you discuss that, and what specifically do you do to help businesses in the area?
We see a lot of that. Small to medium-sized businesses, they still have their IT projects. They still need resources to help them within their office and for remote users. And so we'll step in and fill in the gap where we do a lot of projects for them, help them manage their resources, their budgets, and get their technology under control.
Colt, how can these people reach out to you to assess their IT needs?
Call us. Our number is 434-525-8590. Our website, wefixstupidcomputers.com. We're on Facebook. And our office is here locally, 14690 Forest Road, right next to Scott's Cabinet on 221.
Car insurance rates are rising rapidly. That's no secret. It's because the cost of medical care for those who are injured and the repair and replacement cost of damaged vehicles is skyrocketing. But what can you do about it? Hi, this is Judd Gardner with Gardner Insurance Solutions in Lynchburg. We've been helping Central Virginia drivers purchase the coverage they need at affordable prices since 1993. Talk with us before you pay again. We represent numerous companies and have many cost-saving strategies. Gardner Insurance Solutions, 434-316-5433.
Head to lynchburg-hillcats.com to lock in your tickets for the Lynchburg Hillcats this season. Now here's VTR in Sports.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
I I can't believe I just thought of this, but it's about 30 minutes past the hour, 30 minutes till the top of the hour, which is a convenient time to remind you that now through the end of the month, you get 30% off the list price of every item at InsaneRadioDeals.com. I don't care whether you want $2, $30, $0, you collect something else. We really don't care what your political affiliation is at InsaneRadioDeals.com. The Fast Lane and the Virginia Talk Radio Network. We just want you to save. So shop 24/7 at InsaneRadioDeals.com. Enter the promo code DAWL at checkout now through the end of the month and get 30% off the list price of every item. And we have added some new items over the last couple of days. Food, bed liners, and more. So check them all out at InsaneRadioDeals.com. 30. Oh, we have basically 30 hours left in the season for the Washington Capitals. Maybe so, which is why we get a chance to discuss that right now with Vic Morin, host of the NHL Wraparound podcast. He has a colleague there, Neil Smith, Stanley Cup winning NFL executive with the New York Rangers. Vic, most bluntly to start, as we're glad to have you back, 30 hours left in the Washington Capitals season. Is it that, or especially being at home tomorrow night, is that enough time to help them regroup?
There's always time to regroup, and there's an extra day off in this series, so they won't resume until Thursday. But this has been concerning for me to watch how the Capitals have played this series. And we thought that the Montreal series was kind of a good way for them to get the OV chase behind them, get their game back. And Carolina has taken it to them throughout this series. They are dominating shot attempts. They look faster. They look fresher. They look harder. And the Capitals have not had the requisite pushback. Their special teams have not been good enough. And quite simply, we are going to see whether or not the will of the Capitals gets broken early tomorrow night.
So you mentioned the concern part. I am not an NHL aficionado the way you are. I'm surely not as qualified as your co-host, Neil Smith. No offense to you, but since he helped architect the 1994 Stanley Cup champion New York Rangers, I'll give him even more of a nod of expertise over you. I hope you don't take offense to that here in the Fast Lane. But it looks like from the get-go, Washington has been, to me, as a novice, the slower-looking team than Carolina. Slower to getting to the puck, slower to creating opportunities. They've been clearly outshot. Where am I off? Where am I on in that novice observation?
You're not. You're going to leave your show and you're going to host my podcast because
no,
because it's exactly correct. They have been slower. They have not been tenacious. They have not been heavy. And being heavy is one of the fortes of that team. Getting the puck behind the defense, laying some bodies on them, forcing turnovers, and that has not happened. And what you have seen is Carolina enabling themselves, because that's not happening, easy breakouts. They've been able to throw pucks at will at the Washington net, and that's Carolina dictating the pace. Is there time to turn this around? Yes, but it's running out. And as I just said a moment ago, one of the most fascinating things about watching the Stanley Cup playoffs is as teams fall by the wayside, there is a point in every series where you see the will of a club to move on get broken. And Spencer Carberry has the biggest test that he's had in his 2 years of Washington to try to reverse the narrative of this starting tomorrow. And that means big forecheck early, pucks in deep, bang some bodies. If you got to take a penalty to send your message, then do that. Otherwise, Carolina's going to walk all over them.
So you referenced the physicality in this particular series. Vic Morin, NHL Wraparound podcast co-host, back with us here in the Fast Lane. Vic, from that, is it a sense of urgency? Is it a mentality thing with this Capitals team? Where do you draw in terms of why they've lacked it, and more importantly, how you flip the switch, if that's even possible, to come out with the right mindset in Game 5 and just start there without thinking that you also need 6 and 7?
Well, take out the cliche book. They can only win one at a time. So that starts tomorrow. Home ice, home crowd. And we've said it. There is time to change this narrative. But it is a mindset. It is that you are not going to be defeated tonight. They often say the fourth game is the hardest one to win. Well, make it difficult on Carolina. They have not created screens. Their zone entries haven't been good. They're not getting a lot of second shots. Every box that they checked during the course of the regular season to earn themselves the top spot in the Eastern Conference, they haven't checked the box in this series.
No, they really have not. It looks like all those things that they did so well in the regular season have slowly slipped away. If they lose this series, particularly if they lose on home ice Thursday night, now again, 40 and slip for me, it wasn't tonight, it's tomorrow night when Caps Canes resumes from Washington, D.C., and that's actually officially in Washington, D.C. But if they end up losing that, will we look back when we speak in another couple of weeks with you and next week, hopefully with Neil, where we go, this thing was not just lost right now, it was lost almost in the lead up to the Ovechkin chase and the difficulty regrasping their identity throughout that?
I don't know. I wouldn't jump the gun on that because you have to look at the totality of the progress has been made by this club this season. They barely made the playoffs last year, last night of the regular season. They moved to first in the conference, take a lot of people by surprise. 9 players statistically had career years for them. So a lot of things went right. Now, you go to next year, and we're not putting them to bed yet, but as part of the growth here, you're going to take a little bit of a step back. Not everybody's going to have career years next year. You're not going to have the Ovi chase. Yes, he's going to get to 900 goals, but okay, he's only a few away from that. But this is still a stepping stone in terms of where they want to get to. And if they go down, then GM Chris Patrick will look at this club. He will understand that there is more money available on the salary cap. They do have cap space to begin with, and now you're tacking on about another $7.5 million to that. You make your tweaks, you get yourself better, and you take another run at it again. But that's not until this season is done. So go out, make your statement, bring it back to Carolina, and say, you know what? We're going down to Raleigh, and then we're bringing you back home with us.
I love the I'm not ready to go there part. I'm pumping my fists here for those watching at Fastlane, Ed Lane, and VTRN Sports on Facebook Live and YouTube, because that means we can ask the question again in a couple of weeks when and not feel like we've already answered it, which is a plus for us selfishly, of course, Vic. If Washington can get this to a game 6, does it change the pressure on the Carolina Hurricanes, or is that dependent on how Washington would get it to the game 6? And if it's we imposed our will, got back to our identity, then Carolina has to go, now we might be in a dogfight.
I don't think the pressure will affect Carolina at all. I think they learned a lot from their second round loss to the Rangers a year ago. They're going to do what they continue to do. This is their DNA. Their DNA is to throw pucks from everywhere, including your studio, towards the net. That's what they do. And they're going to continue to do that. And I think they've had enough players go through this rodeo already to say, we're just going to continue to play our game. They've won a game in Washington already. So they know that they can win there. Now the Caps have to prove they can do the same.
So we'll flip it on this, and we got a couple more questions left. We're focusing right now with Vic Moore into the NHL wraparound on Caps Canes because that's the biggest series in our backyard. The others are great. We'll have a chance to kind of get broader when one of these teams is eliminated the next time we speak. But from Carolina's perspective, how much credit goes to Rod Brind'Amour? Injuries in goal. It was, Washington had the overall better regular season, but from the get-go, he looks like he's had his team more prepared.
I think their effort has been collective so far. Freddie Anderson has done a very good job in net. Has he been tested the way Logan Thompson has been? No, but that's part of what the success is how well you can defend, not only with your goaltender, that's the last line, but what is your team defense? What are you allowing? Are you keeping the shooting lanes clear? Are you getting in the middle of passes? What is your gap control on the back check? Do guys have a lot of room to operate? Or when Washington crosses the blue line, do they have to decide quickly because they know that one and then a second man is on them? So this is a collective effort. It's how Carolina plays. It's in the model of Rod Brind'Amour. So give him credit.
A lot of credit goes to him. A lot of credit goes to the NHL Wraparound podcast because their insight is fantastic. Neil Smith and his colleague who's with us, Vic Morin, who's with us today in the Fast Lane. Vic, we'll wrap it up on this. Does it end Thursday night? Does it go back to Raleigh? Does it go back to Washington for a Game 7? How does this thing transpire, the rest of this Caps Cane series?
Both Neil and I and Craig Button in our second round preview, we picked the Caps. I think you pick it based on what you've seen, not only in the previous series, but in previous years as it pertained to the Hurricanes. They did not change their goaltending. We thought that was going to be a factor. Anderson has been better than Thompson. So this is what happens. You get surprises. I think this is going to be Game 6, though. And it's a good thing I don't have to answer to it next week. And then Neil has to answer the same question, because if he's on, he picked the Caps as well.
Yeah, we might have to hold him accountable as well, but he at least gave us permission the last time we spoke, so we've got that going for us. The Caps, they need a lot going for them, including a start that is much better than what they've displayed recently. Vic, thank you for your time breaking down this series. I promise next time we chat, we'll have a chance to talk about some of the others, which have been exciting, but so far this one's dominated the forefront, and for Washington, they hope to dominate the forecheck early as well.
My pleasure joining you, and we'll see what happens. I think we'll know pretty early on tomorrow if the Caps have a shot to force Game 6.
We most definitely will. We know the insight's great as well. The NHL Wraparound Podcast, Vic Morin with us here in the Fast Lane. When we return, speaking of the shots, give it your best shot Memorial Day. Join us for the 10K run and 2-mile walk for the Type 1 Diabetes Experience. More on the event when we return. Director Carol Friend back in studio to discuss that. Some cool new offerings, including breakfast at the race? We'll explain when we return here in the Fast Lane.
Mark Dalton here with the Terry Auto Group. If you don't love your car, then you're simply just driving the wrong one. At Terry Volkswagen, Terry Subaru, Terry Auto Outlet, and the Terry Clearance Center, we've got the perfect new or used car for you. We make your car buying experience easy. Need help with imperfect credit? No problem. Our team works hard to get you approved and back on the road. Because when you shop at Terry, you drive away happy. Visit us at any of our 4 locations or online at terryautogroup.com. Terry Auto Group. You'll love our cars.
When food is made with love, it's made from the heart. Our food at JD's Cafe is made with love. Hi, I'm JD. Come experience Lynchburg's best Southern comfort food. With warm weather here, nothing beats fresh homemade chicken salad. Ours is in high demand and perfect for scoops, sandwiches, or large orders with advance notice. Craving something with a kick? Our Nolans catfish or shrimp po' boy is served with homemade remoulade sauce and a drizzle of hot sauce. Experience the love. JD's Cafe, Boonesboro Shopping Center in Lynchburg.
It's natural to wonder why you should consult a legal advocate after a serious auto accident. The reason is personal injury cases are complex. Hi, I'm Randy Trost of Trost Law. Filing a claim isn't just about filling out a form and waiting for a check in the mail. Most accident resolutions require intricate knowledge of Virginia's personal injury laws and experience working with insurance companies. That's where Trost Law will help. Call us at 777-HURT and visit trostlaw.com so we can do the work to obtain the best result for you.
Experience, reputation, growth. These are what make Brownstone Properties the area's most trusted property management company. With the recent addition of 15 new communities at Smith Mountain Lake, we have expanded our HOA portfolio to over 80 communities across the region. Combine these with over 2,500 residential units, and it's easy to see why our reputation and business continue to grow. Let our experience work for you. Visit us today at brownstoneproperties.com or 3720 Old Forest Road in Lynchburg.
At InsaneRadioDeals.com, we don't care how many dolls you have or if you collect something else. All we care is to help you save money. So now through the end of May, enter the promo code DOLL at checkout and get 30% off the list price of every item at InsaneRadioDeals.com. That includes the sports collector in your life, BNC Sports gift certificates, good for Valley View Mall in Roanoke and River Ridge Mall in Lynchburg. Enter the promo code DOLL at checkout now through the end of May to get 30% off the list price of every item at InsaneRadioDeals.com.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
Here on the VTR, as we welcome you back into the Fast Lane here on the VTR and Sports app at 93.3 FM. Just a little point of clarity for those that are watching, and we appreciate those that are watching. Not my thing, by the way, but hey, plenty of people do. Our metrics don't lie. They've been great. People are watching. Trey and his younger friends out there, it's your thing. Hey, more power to you. But for those that are watching, Fast Lane, Ed Lane, and VTR and Sports on Facebook Live and YouTube. The banner for Rewind 1039 in the background that I'm pointing at with my two thumbs behind me, not like Siskel and Ebert, two thumbs up, RIP to them, but two thumbs behind me for Rewind 1039. It's just a merely a shameless self-promotion for our sister station. We are not actually putting the Fast Lane on that platform. We have morning fast takes, but not actually putting the show on there. Although, by the way, if you want Rewind on a remote to be at your event, message us here and we can get you connected to make that a reality. We will be at an event on Memorial Day. We've been there a number of times. We are proud here in the Fast Lane and at the Virginia Talk Radio Network to once again be partnering with the Memorial Day 10K Run and 2 Mile Walk for the Type 1 Diabetes. Carol Friend, director of this event, she has helped put this on now for, almost a decade?
Wow, that's crazy. Yes, I think you're about right.
Back when you were fresh out of college, right?
Well, it's been a little while. I'm trying to think. Maybe I was involved for about a decade, but I've probably been the race director about 8 years.
So you've had intimate knowledge of this event. It's kind of a great blend. It's Memorial Day. Everyone knows in throughout this great nation of ours, Memorial Day is a big day, but especially here, we're a very patriotic area. So the races embrace that element to it. It's also embraced the fact that it's for a great cause, TIDE, the Type 1 Diabetes Experience, TIDE.org. That's T1DE.org. The easiest way to register to run or walk, and we will get to that in a moment. But I got to start off with this. Every race in which I've run, and I'm proud to say I've run plenty of them this year and in prior years, some better than others. The races that I've run, they all have your typical post-race food and beverages.
Yes.
Sports drinks, water, bananas, things of that nature. Breakfast at the race? That's the newest twist. That's an awesome twist that you and the Depot Grill have put together this year. Where did that idea originate?
Well, we're super excited. We've got the Depot Grill as a big sponsor for us this year. And I have always wanted to prioritize protein at our races. Now, we do have to keep our typical fare for our runners. They like their post-race snacks. But we, as the diabetes organization, really like to prioritize health and community fitness and wellness. And we like to accommodate and make sure that people can get protein after the race. So we've done things like cheese sticks and nuts. But this year, with the Depot Grill sponsoring and them being right there, we asked if they would provide some sources of protein for us for the morning.
They will. That's the coolest thing ever. First of all, I'm not eating it before the race. I don't even know how I feel after the race. But the cool thing about running and walking, and this event embraces runners, walkers, and volunteers. More on that in a moment. But the cool thing about it is everybody's got their own little pre-race and post-race approaches, and this is a real cool one. I'm excited to see how this goes.
Yes, we're super excited this year as well. And in addition, the Riverfront Park is open. So speaking of pre-race.
Oh my gosh, that is all right. All right. I'm not going to get fully confessional here in the Fast Lane, but I will get somewhat confessional. Most every racer, before the race, many of us are looking for one thing: the bathroom. Like
exactly.
It's just, if nothing else, like for me, it's often superstition and just nerves that are there. It's just the reality of running it. Everybody's often looking for that. True or false? Not only is the new playground open, but the bathrooms are open now.
The bathrooms are open, and I went and checked them out, and they're fabulous. We have male and female bathrooms, fully accessible bathrooms, and there'll be plenty, so I don't anticipate any pre-race lines. You do have to go a little bit across the parking lot to access them, but I feel the trade-off is worth it.
Oh, it definitely is. I mean, no pun intended here. What a relief it is to hear that news. Carol Friend, who's the director of the Memorial Day 10K Run and 2 Mile Walk for the Type 1 Diabetes Experience. And the other cool part, I don't think this should be overlooked with the Riverfront Park now being open. The bathroom's great for us runners and many of the walkers out there as well. When you're about to go out for a while, you want to be able to make sure you're taken care of there. But the playgrounds are also open, and this has been a family-friendly event in and of itself. You've got the new element of the playgrounds, plus plenty of things that have been back in prior years, balloons, face painting as well. So it seems like this event now has a whole new element with the playground being open to make this what it's always been, which is a family-friendly race and walk.
Yes, we're really proud of the family-friendly race, and it really gets kids involved with a very healthy activity for the community.
So that's the cool part to this. we mentioned the Memorial Day 10K run part, and the other part to this is the 2-mile walk. How much has that part of this event grown, especially the last couple of years?
Well, I think it's grown a little bit. It sort of depends from year to year, but I really like the fact that it makes the race accessible for anybody. So wherever you are, wherever you're starting, the 2-mile walk is a great place to start.
The other cool thing, and I will say this as a runner, first of all, the running community in Lynchburg, and just generally speaking, it's a very supportive community compared to other sports that are out there. But it's actually kind of cool when you're running back. It's an out and back course, and we'll get to the changes in a moment for the 10K part of the Memorial Day 10K run and 2-mile walk for Tide. But it's real cool coming back because you get a lot of the walkers that are still out there, and some of them are new, and takes a moment to realize, all right, you got to kind of move out of the way here because these people are coming. I'm not fast, but some people are. But when you're running, it's awesome because you almost have like a cheering squad at so many different levels along the way.
Yes, we're cheering the whole way for everybody.
So we brought that point up about the walkers and what it does to get the community out, and more importantly, to open up the idea of this event being, which is what it's about. Part of it's Tide, but part of it is also just overall health and wellness of making sure that people have type 1 or type 2 diabetes can live their best lives.
Yes, that is one thing we really like to promote, resources and other events to help people be as healthy as possible here in Lynchburg.
We've seen that. It's one of the cool things. Again, as a runner, everybody's on their own health journey. So it's, different people have different things they're looking for out of running. Maybe it's out of walking, but everybody kind of comes together and congregates around this event itself. How much does all of that, the quality of life and the health, tie into the race mission and its supporting cause, Tide the Type 1 Diabetes Experience?
Wow, that's a big question, Ed. I'd like to say that we love having the race because it does allow us to get out there into the community and get our name out there so that individuals with type 2 diabetes, and especially near and dear to our hearts, the kiddos and the families with type 1 diabetes, we can get our name out there to help provide support for them in their health journey, but also create the atmosphere that allows everybody to, enhance their current health aspirations.
So you mentioned type 1 diabetes, and we'll start with that one because that's the type 1 diabetes experience. Everybody knows about that. What do people not know about type 1 diabetes that they know and that Tide is able to help people be more educated on?
Sure. We have a lot of resources, especially about mental health and wellness with type 1 diabetes, but especially we embrace Dr. Richard Bernstein's methods, which help individuals with type 2 diabetes and type 1 diabetes using a low carbohydrate diet to manage their diabetes better.
You mentioned Dr. Bernstein, RIP to the legend, Dr. Bernstein, Dr. Richard Bernstein, who has the book out about type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes and what people can do to learn about that. How crucial is that book to helping people that have diabetes, especially those that are new? And it seems like it hits like a tidal wave in terms of how to handle this new development in their lives.
Sure. Yes, that was very important to us as my daughter was coming up. We were able to find a way that we still have to use insulin with type 1 diabetes, but we're able to use less insulin when we're intaking less carbohydrates. And it just makes the lows less low and the highs less high. And it makes it more manageable throughout the day. I was really excited when we met Justin and Ashley Rogers from the Depot Grill, and they had already found out about Richard Bernstein. So it was a nice connection for us.
When people register for the race at tide.org, that's T1DE.org, to run or walk in the Memorial Day 10K run and 2-mile walk for Tide, how much do people need to know that their registration is benefiting directly Tide, and it's helping those people and families, particularly those that need that financial and emotional support, and what that organization is able to provide for them?
Sure. One of the biggest things that we do as Tide is provide books, free books for families and individuals with diabetes. And one thing that we're extremely proud of is that across the state of Virginia, we pay for education for school staff that have to take care of diabetes in the schools. So we pay for really well done education. So yes, all your money is going towards mainly those two initiatives currently. And then also we like to do family events to bring families and children together.
That's awesome, because a lot of people in the schools may not be familiar with it directly with their family, but so often they're the ones particularly around the young people and need to have that knowledge of how to support them.
Yes. And it's, as a parent, it just gives you that much more security that your child is well taken care of when you're not there.
Carol Friend, who's helped direct the Memorial Day 10K run and 2-mile walk for the type 1 diabetes experience. And it also helps people with type 2 diabetes as well.
Yes. Yes. It's very evidence-based currently. It's the standards of care are recommending it as the best way to control your blood sugar.
Emotional support as well. The event itself and Tide, how much do they tie together in just showing that there's a community out there and that there's emotional support available to people, especially those that are new to type 1 and type 2 diabetes?
Yes, I think it really it's an opportunity to pull our community together and bring the kids together to meet other children. And especially, I would say parents. Parents benefit a lot from talking to other parents.
Last one and the open-ended one. What else do people need to know about the Memorial Day 10K run and 2-mile walk for type 1 diabetes experience?
Come on out. It's going to be a great day. If you don't feel like you can walk or run, we'd love to have you as a volunteer. So if you can reach out to us through our Facebook page or through the Run Sign Up page, we'd love to have you.
Or at Fastlane, Ed Lane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you're interested, just drop us a note. We'll get you connected with Carol and the team at Tide and the Memorial Day 10K run and 2-mile walk, because it's a community event and community support is a big part of that. Look forward to seeing you out there on race day, Carol, although the smile I have right now might not be available until after the race.
We always look forward to seeing you, Ed, and cheering you across the finish line.
Yes, in whatever form or fashion I make it, that is the fun part of this, and it is for a great cause, the Memorial Day 10K run and 2-mile walk for the type 1 diabetes experience. Come join us. A big thanks to Carol today in the Fast Lane. Thank you for connecting with us however you have, live or Fast Lane Ed Lane, Facebook Live, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you listen to podcasts. No show Thursday and Friday, PGA Championship and Tech Baseball, so we're back Monday at 5. Thanks for listening to The Fast Lane on VTRN Sports, 93.3 FM, W227 BG Timberlake.